Huh. This isn't Star Wars. Oh well, I guess we'll talk about it. Okay, that's enough. I don't need Disney hitting me with any more copyright claims.
You better watch out.
You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch.
WandaVision was probably the most honest, compelling, and overall engaging product the MCU has ever produced. The key word being was.
Excuse me, the did you just say?
No. Hold your hexes, Lizzie Stans. I'm not trying to drag your favorite show, actress, or comfort character. In fact, I'll be transparent with you. I was digging this show. I was simming for it once a week, and I went as far as to make 2 different videos praising it. 2 pretty bad videos in retrospect, but we're not gonna talk about my piss poor early work. Don't worry, my comment section hasn't forgotten. WandaVision had me hooked, no cap. And that's pretty damn surprising because I was never into Wanda or Vision as characters. I didn't hate them. I just didn't care about them either. And the movies never actually seemed to make me want to care about them. Both Wanda and Vision were usually supporting characters with barely any character arcs to speak of and very little character development. Even their relationship started off screen. We never got to see when Wanda went off the deep end and said,
"Forget date night with the washing machine.
I'm gonna fuck Tony Stark's VPN."
This is a good time to tell you about today's sponsor, ExpressVPN.
You're not affiliated with me.
They are never gonna give me a dime, as they shouldn't. So when I heard our Disney overlords would be launching a show about Wanda and Vision on their Star Wars and Marvel streaming service, don't lie to yourself, Bobby. We all know the most trafficked Disney Plus gets is for the space wizards and the superhero orgies. I just wasn't sold on the show personally. I didn't care. It didn't tickle my fancy. It didn't butter my toast. It didn't dodge. I'm going to hell for that. Something about the sitcom Marvel show based around the watered down, non-mutant, not Magneto's daughter Wanda and her sex toy toaster oven Vision just didn't do it for me. And honestly, I'm not the biggest MCU fan either, so I never had that built-in rose-tinted goggles that hardcore MCU fans have. I saved my rose-tinted goggles for The Force Awakens. You film Twitter, TFA is still good. No offense to Kevin Feige, because I definitely don't need that baseball cap loving, sandbox building, big ass teeth having dude hiding under my bed tonight because he looks like he's a biter. Don't lie to me, Kevin, I know you like to bite people. But for the most part, I found myself feeling rather underwhelmed by the MCU's whole Joss Whedon, James Gunn style formulaic storytelling that the MCU has been obsessed with. Pop culture references, endless quipping, and being more and more self-aware and not being able to take anything seriously for the most part without squeezing in more jokes than Sam Wilson's double-caked ass in a Captain America suit.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
And here's the thing, as someone who was never a fan of the James Gunn, Joss Whedon style of filmmaking, the fact that the MCU just kept trying to copy them always fell flat with me. And maybe it was because I was more of a giant fan of the grounded, Linkin Park superhero stories of the DCEU.
When my time comes, forget the one that I've done.
Which I still am a fan of. I just couldn't take the fact that the MCU just really didn't know how to break out of its mass appealing formula, stop trying to appeal to everyone, and instead focus on telling a story in a unique way. Because at the end of the day, love or hate the movies that DC has produced with the most nonsensical, insane studio that we know as Warner Brothers. Apologize to Ray Fisher, you Don't like Snyder's mythological, larger-than-life superhero stories? You can watch the bombastic Aquaman movie.
Do that.
By retrieving this.
I already got one of those.
The found footage family movie that is Shazam.
You have bullet immunity.
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
The music video Suicide Squad.
What?
The acid trip that is Birds of Prey.
Turn it up!
Kenobi.
So my hopes for WandaVision weren't that high. I really didn't feel the MCU like that, and I just thought, well, there's no way this show can impress me.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
But then I watched WandaVision and I was surprised. WandaVision was great and I loved it. There was humor, pop culture references, yet something was different. WandaVision didn't feel like the MCU's mass-producing formula product. It actually felt like there was a story that was trying to be more than just a long advertisement for another future story set within the world's most expensive TV series that the MCU had become. Wanda was no longer this white bread version of her character that we only heard from when the story wanted to insert some unearned drama. In WandaVision, we got to see a different side of Wanda, or rather the side of Wanda she wanted to be. You see, after Endgame, Wanda was alone, lost, and then without warning, she's somehow in this sitcom-like world. It's unknown how much in control of the world Wanda is, how she got there, or even why. Vision is somehow brought back to life, but not in the Palpatine way.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Not another word out of you, Poe, unless it's praising our Lord and Savior, Babu Frick. Vision's surprise resurrection, even though we saw him die twice, is treated not only as a mystery, but a deeply personal and frightening thing for Vision.
I can't remember my life before Westview. I don't know who I am. I'm scared.
He's scared, confused, yet he wants to understand the truth of what's going on, no matter the cost. Oh, and Pietro is there, somewhere. The show made two characters I honestly couldn't have given an America's ass about into actual people. There was also this great supporting cast who actually offered nuance, introspection, or were just actually entertaining beyond how much the director could ham-fist another joke down our throats, and let me tell you, I was glad about that. There is only so much meat I can take down my throat. The three characters that stuck out to me the most in this wonderfully surprising honest show, besides the title characters, were Monica, Agatha, and Hayward. Monica on a surface look is brilliant, smart, charismatic, thicker than a Snicker.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop.
Yet beneath the surface there is so much more. You see, Monica is the daughter of Maria Rambeau from Captain Marvel, and if early reports are to be believed about the sequel to Captain Marvel titled The Marvels, Carol and Maria were in a relationship, thus making Carol basically Monica's other mother, considering Carol helped raise Monica with Maria. But while Carol was exiled into continuity space, Maria got cancer, Monica was snapped away, and by the time Monica was brought back, Maria was dead. Carol was gone again, and even Monica's career had moved on without her as well. Monica, like Wanda, had nothing. We see how Monica feels this connection to Wanda because of this emptiness. Monica wasn't the black supporting character in every MCU movie. Monica had layers, she had agency, and each episode seemed to build her up more and more. Hayward is Monica's boss and a friend of the family who knew her mother. The two have history, and it shows how Monica feels comfortable enough to joke around with Hayward, and how Hayward cares enough about her well-being not to want to put her in any emotional or physical danger. Now, if you've seen any MCU movie, you're probably on the up and up on the generic evil military white guy trope. Yet, Hayward wasn't this. Even when he's doing things antagonistic to Wanda, it's always framed as him doing it for the safety of others, the townspeople trapped inside Wanda's hex, and the people who could be trapped outside of it. You get the sense that this is a man who realized how small humanity is in the universe, and he's afraid, not just for himself, but for the world. In fact, that's not even me pulling that out of my ass. Hayward and Monica both want the same thing, to release the townspeople from the hex, and it's really not known at first who is going about it the right or the wrong way. From Hayward's perspective, Wanda behaves outright hostile to everyone, including Monica, and does things that could have clearly killed someone if Monica wasn't lucky enough, and Wanda is seemingly in everyone's head inside the hex. Something Hayward worries about could be a problem if Wanda is still in Monica's mind. From Monica's perspective, Wanda is like her, lost, confused, and consumed by grief. And acting on impulse. She got to see the side of Wanda the cameras don't see. She delivered Wanda's children. There was some form of a connection with Wanda and Monica for a time. Wanda even told her about her twin brother Pietro, something she hadn't talked about for a very long time. She didn't even tell Vision in this world about him. In a sense, Wanda and Monica's relationship invokes an old trope called "Was it all a lie?" Yet the trope is flipped on its head with Monica only going into the town to figure out what was going on, and Wanda trapping Monica in prison inside her own mind. Not even Monica knows if her friendship with Wanda was real or just a remnant of the Hex. Speaking of the Hex, Agatha is brilliant at first, hands down the best MILF. The best MILF. The best.
You can't handle the truth!
Yet at first she doesn't come across as a villain.
Is it crack? Is that what you smoke? Do you smoke crack?
In fact, in the episode we learn more about her, Agatha serves as a dark mentor to Wanda, pushing her to stop running from her past. We even learn that Agatha didn't even create the hex. She has just been trying to understand how the hell did Wanda do what she did, and what really is she? Instead of your generic villain just trying to kill the hero, we have two characters who have done some morally great things, trying to understand what the is going on with their current situation. A part of me became so invested in this dynamic between Wanda and Agatha, I wanted Agatha to actually mentor Wanda to help her understand her power. You really didn't know what was happening with WandaVision in the best type of way. It was like someone sat down and said, hey, let's do something different with these characters in this story than what we usually do. And I mean the real different, not that hot topic Starbucks drinking different like, haha, I'm so random. I'm not talking about Star Wars. What makes you think I'm talking about Star Wars? Let's get back to WandaVision. So with everything good I'm saying about WandaVision, what happened? Why am I making this video? Well, almost in a meta commentary way, like many shows before it, WandaVision kinda lost sight about what was compelling about the show. By the ending of WandaVision, the show went the way of Game of Thrones, How I Met Your Mother, and even Dexter. That's right, even Dexter's cabin made it into the finale. The ending of WandaVision was rushed, it was redundant, and at parts even insulting.
Ralph Boner?
Boner.
You're saying I just randomly mentioned Pietro, didn't really dive deep into him, and then only revealed that he wasn't the real Pietro at a random point in time in this video? Huh. Well, how about that? WandaVision started out as a deconstruction of the MCU formula. It was a slow burn, there was attention given to the supporting cast, like they were title characters, and it dared to actually explore the feelings of loss, grief, and loneliness, not just for the title characters, but everyone. Yet, sad to say, like many shows that fell off the map before it, you could point to the red herrings that were slowly building up and going nowhere. And before anyone says anything, I don't know shit about the MCU, so I didn't care or know about anything like Reed Richards, Mephisto, the dildo warriors of Asgard coming down to save everyone. I didn't know anything about that stuff, but there's a difference between fan theories just running rampant and the show purposely saying, hey, look at this. You think that's going to be important? It might be important, it might not. You could point to the fact that as the series went on, Monica and Hayward became more and more one-dimensional and only existed to serve Wanda's story. By the end of the series, Hayward and Monica became one-note characters with just one single personality trait for each of them: support, antagonized. And Agatha is... Agatha was a mess. Agatha is an odd case because throughout the entire series she goes back and forth between being sus and non-sus, at least if you didn't look up the fan theory about Agatha Harkness and find out who she was from the jump. The polarizing thing about Agatha is that she represents a lot of good and bad about WandaVision. Agatha's catchy theme song that says it was her all along.
Thanks to Agatha.
Nope.
Agatha.
Nope. Nope.
Yet, ironically, even with that blatant, incoherent narrative aspect to Agatha's character, she started to become one of the most interesting villains in the MCU, until she turned into your generic MCU villain who was defeated by your hero with a standard MCU plot contrivance. Upon rewatching WandaVision for this video, the show feels like every episode was ran by different people, with little care put into mind to how it would all fit into one narrative, and by the end of the show, we went back to your standard MCU formula: CGI battle, Skybeam, generic evil military guy, black supportive friend getting no characterization besides being supportive. Even the thematic progress the show made to showcase that grief could affect everyone, not just the main title heroes, was dropped because the pain and the suffering that Wanda caused the townspeople, as well as Monica's own emotional pain, took a back seat or was ignored entirely for Wanda's perspective. And some may say, well, it was the series finale, they had to focus on the title character. Yeah, but that goes into how it feels rushed, because the rest of the series didn't need to do that. In the end, WandaVision became everything it wasn't. It became rushed, clunky, and and yet even with it being a complete and total mess, I don't think I can be too hard on the show. Don't get me wrong, I definitely think WandaVision has earned all the criticism and even more that I have given it. That being said, to completely trash the show from top to bottom and say there was never anything good about it would not only be disingenuous to the praise I had labeled on the show initially, but also send a message to the MCU that they should just stick with the normal formula and stop trying to do something new. Because honestly, when I look back at WandaVision and compare it to something like, I don't know, the Black Widow movie coming out, and again, I'm not comparing it just because they're two women, I'm just comparing it because those are two MCU projects that most people are interested in. WandaVision tried to tell a new story, but Black Widow is just kind of telling the same story in a same format way, mostly because the Black Widow script has been being kicked around for over a decade. Anyway, WandaVision did something amazing and presented an honest, heartfelt story about grief, loss, and running from your pain in an interesting and engaging format that made everyone stand up and pay attention. Even if the finale of the show dropped the ball, what WandaVision initially did shouldn't be totally ignored. Would I suggest that you watch WandaVision? Well, even though the red herrings become too much, the subversion of equality angered me, and the overall disappointing or cliffhanger ending for a lot of characters left a sour taste in my mouth. Revisiting WandaVision again for this video made me realize that even if the ending was bad for me, the journey to get there was still enjoyable. It's a bittersweet feeling. Looking back on a story that started with so much promise, only for it to fail to stick the landing, really sucks. But what was good, what I enjoyed, is still there. So if you haven't watched WandaVision and want to go on a wild ride, I'd say give it a chance. Maybe you'll like the ending. Despite what I personally said, maybe you won't. And personally, I think, despite how something turns out, despite how it ends, it's always interesting to see how it goes, even if it's just for yourself.